"Destination!" shouted the census-taker, sitting up again, putting on his eye-shade, taking the pen from behind his ear, and opening his book. "But I thought," protested the astonished Bug. "Destination," he repeated, making several notations in the ledger. "The castle in the air," said Milo impatiently. "Why bother?" said the census-taker, pointing into the distance. "I'm sure you'd rather see what I have to show you." As he spoke, they all looked up, but only Milo could see the gay and exciting circus there on the horizon. There were tents and sideshows and rides and even wild animals, everything a little boy could spend hours watching. "And wouldn't you enjoy a more pleasant aroma?" he said, turning to Talk. Almost immediately, the dog smelled a wonderful smell that no one but he could smell. It was made up of all the marvelous things that had ever delighted his curious nose. "And here's something I know you'll enjoy hearing," he assured the humbug. The Bug listened with rapt attention to something he alone could hear. The shouts and applause of an enormous crowd, all cheering for him. They each stood as if in a trance, looking, smiling, and listening to the very special things that the census-taker had provided for them, forgetting completely about where they were going and who, with evil intent, was coming up behind them. The census-taker sat back with a satisfied smile on his puffy little face as the demons came closer and closer until less than a minute separated them from their helpless victims. But Milo was too engrossed in the circus to notice, and Talk had closed his eyes the better to smell. And the Bug, bowing and waving, stood with a look of sheer bliss on his face, and interested only in the wild ovation. The little man had done his work well, and except for some ominous crawling noises just below the crest of the mountain, everything was again silent. Milo, who stood staring blankly into the distance, let his bag of gifts slip from his shoulder to the ground, and as he did, the package of sounds broke open, filling the air with peals of happy laughter, which seemed so gay. At first he, then Talk, and finally the humbug joined in, and suddenly the spell was broken. "There's no circus!" cried Milo, realizing he'd been tricked. "There were no smells!" barked Talk, his alarm now ringing furiously. "The applause is gone," complained the disappointed humbug. I warned you. I was the census-taker," sneered the census-taker. "I help people find what they're not looking for, hear what they're not listening for, run after what they're not chasing, and smell what isn't even there." And furthermore, he cackled, hopping around gleefully on his stubby legs, "I'll steal your sense of purpose, take your sense of duty, destroy your sense of proportion, and, but for one thing, you'd be helpless yet." "What's that?" asked Milo fearfully. "As long as you have the sound of laughter," he groaned unhappily. "I can't take your sense of humor, and with it, you've nothing to fear from me." "But what about them?" cried the terrified Bug, for at that very instant the other demons had reached the top at last and were leaping forward to seize them. They ran for the stairs, bowing over the disconsolate census-taker, ledger, ink bottle, eye-shade, and all. As they went, the humbug dashed up first, and then Talk, and lastly Milo, almost too late. as a scaly arm brushed his shoe. The dangerous stairs danced dizzily in the wind, and the clumsy demons refused to follow. But they howled with rage and fury, swore bloody vengeance, and watched with many pairs of burning eyes as the three small shapes vanished slowly into the clouds. "Don't look down," advised Milo, as the bug tottered upward on unsteady legs. Like a giant corkscrew, the stairway twisted through the darkness, steep and narrow and with no rail to guide them. The wind howled cruelly in an effort to tear them loose, and the fog dragged clammy fingers down their backs. But up the giddy flights they went, each one helping the others, until at last the clouds parted, the darkness fell away, and a glow of golden sun rays warned their arrival. The castle gates swung open smoothly. They entered the great hall on a rug as soft as a snowdrift, and they stood shyly waiting.